joining me today. I hope you've all had a nice lunch and you're not going to fall asleep in my session. I'm sure you won't. Okay, so as Sarah said, we're here to talk about really the future of technology in university and campus environments and the role of technology in what we would class university for, the universities of the future. But firstly, let me just give you a bit of a background to me, if I can make my slides work, which I'm not going to do. There we go. So who am I? Peter Moore. Unfortunately, I've been in EPOS payments for too long and run my business in technology for too long. I am a futurist. I love technology. I'm passionate about it. I love innovation. And I'm all about bringing what I would call the future of technology, but bring it into reality, into your world and my world, that actually starts to make it viable and returnable. I am also a lover of English wine. I did want to mention that, but if you look at me, look at my profile, you'll see why. But anyway, let's move on. So a bit about what I do as far as the company. It's been a bit slow, my PC to react to, but let me just see the next one. So there we go. It's probably going to move on. So my company, Lolly, we established it in 2007. And we've gone on, there we go. We established it in 2007. We are a software house. We're a software house that basically builds software, POS, payments, and many other different bits of services within the hospitality environment. What I wanted to show you there are our values. And our values is about really what we call responsibility, trust, and it's about our whole team spirit and team environment. So whenever we do anything, we believe it's all about a deep understanding of each other's requirements and a partnership. We're based in the UK, and all of our software and services are built in the UK. And yeah, we have a great development team. So when we talk about digital services, I promise you we're going to talk about the whole solution now, but when we talk about it, we talk about the digital journey now. And why we do that? Because there's not one single proposition that we believe that will drive through technology. It's a combination of a number of different pieces of technology. At Lolly, this is how we see our digital journey. And what we mean by that is that the journey for a student has to start with perhaps a pre-order environment, a open wallet, a getting onto campus, ordering at seat, ordering at location, and then it moves around the whole digital journey to Lolly robots, which we'll talk about later, to self-serve, to AI type self-serve products, to point of sale, to payments, to signage, kitchen management, and video. And what I mean by that's a whole digital cycle that in both you as the user interface and indeed your students, your staff members have to interact with. So just at our reference, we do quite a lot in universities. You can see there at the bottom there, these are all some of our customers, ranging from the NHS to Sky. But obviously we're here to talk about today is universities, and you can see some of the universities that we're working with at the moment and why we're quite focused on universities. And I'll talk a bit more about that later on. But that's some of our credence and credibility to say that actually we kind of know what we're talking about within this world. So getting back to the point of why we're here today and what you guys want to hear about is really understanding about the proposition within your environment. So I'll come back to basics first of all and say in any service proposition, it's about understanding the context and the needs of the client. And that's absolutely key. University campuses and colleges provide a constitutive profile type of users in terms of demographics, behaviors, attitudes, profiles, etc. And so when we look at designing a solution or service, or when you do, it has to be on a needs-based approach. It's essential because one size doesn't fit all. As a technology company, we use the term technology is not about our ability to deliver it. It's about the consumer's or user's ability to accept it and use it. And that is so true with all of the propositions we use within technology. And we're going to focus a bit more on that. And when we talk about what we're going to talk about today, which is obviously wider trends, generations, what we call generation theory, and we're going to look at Z's, alphas, and the roles of universities, how that's changing, implications of hospitality services, and then I'm going to talk a bit about futures, about where the world, the very fast-moving technology world, is moving to. Okay, theory of generations. Now, some of you might have heard me talking about this before, but it's something we really focus on. And why? Because, as you all know, that you're all probably aware of the different generations, from builders to boomers to X's to Y's to Z's and to basically the alphas coming through. Now, today we're going to talk more about Gen Zs, focus on Gen Zs. Why? Because they're your current marketplace. But we're going to talk a bit about alphas. But not to forget the rest of the theory of generations, because if we look at the next slide, really is gearing up for that generation change. Each one of those generations I've got on that screen there, you are impacted by, because it's not just your profile of your customers, i.e. Gen Zs and the soon to be the alphas, but your staff are Generation X's and millennials. And the way you or the way they adopt and use technology is also key in respect of how they deliver it through to your students and on campus. So, as I said to you, Gen Zs, what are they? Born in 1997 to 2010. This generation has never known a life without technology. In fact, they're known as iGens sometimes. And what's their profile? They're ambitious. They're digital natives. They're brought up with tech, remember. They're very confident individuals. And again, as we build a proposition, we're going to look more in Gen Zs, but it's important you understand that as far as what their requirements are. Alphas, well, alphas are a different kettle of fish totally. Alphas are, we call it totally digitized. They want to sit in a room and sit in an environment, and they want to play on their phone. They want to order on their phone. They want to communicate with their best mate that's sitting next to them digitally. They don't want to look at them and talk to them, because that's how they've been brought up and that's what they're used to doing. Now, it's that generation again that will change the way we have to adopt and deliver solutions, as we are with the Generation Zs. So Gen Zs, what are they? Well, here we are. We're basically first social generation that have grown up with internet and mobile devices. Oh, there we go. They're digital natives. They live more slowly than predecessors. Lower teen pregnancies, lower alcohol consumptions, less drugs taking. They're a different type of animal. They're much more focused on themselves, more concerned with their academic performance and job prospects. Delayed gratification, what I'm looking for that, they're really focused on the long-term academic success, physical and psychological health, and social confidence. We know these guys, they want to stay at university. They want to do their masters. They want to, sorry, I've got a robot moving around behind me at the moment. Just come out of his docking station, decided to walk around the room, which isn't great, but anyway. So basically, they are a very different type of attitude. They spend more time on electronic devices and less time reading books than their predecessors. So what does that actually mean? So on the social context, so we look again as far as societal trends, what happens. So understand the big picture and how trends are evolving provides an enabler to defining a distinctive proposition. Long word there, but it's understanding where the Gen Z come from to actually design your proposition. And that we look at three different areas, typically the macroeconomics, domestic, lifestyle. What I've brought, I'm not going to go through those. You can read those yourself, but it's basically aging population, a pensioner landscape that changes the Zs as they come through. In touch, 24/7 home deliveries, super fast internet, AI advances. Obviously, this last 3 weeks, everyone's talking about AI. Everyone's talking about GDP, open AI platforms that are going to be potentially a threat for your human race in the future. Really scary stuff. And lifestyles, a big one for Gen Zs is time poor, bite-sized. So again, it's all about they haven't got enough time, and it's all about bite-sized activities, taking those on, delivering those, then moving forward. And that moves through in respect of the service proposition we talk about. Okay. I'm struggling with moving my slides today, so what about that, folks? There we go. So the changing palette. So again, Gen Zs, they basically are concerned about climate, sustainability, animal welfare. Aramark did a study on food, and 79% of their members in the Generation Zs would like to eat less meat. That's incredible. And when we walk down to the bottom of this slide here, we can see for the future, it's about cultured and fermented meats, which is less slaughtering of animals. That's the sort of focus that the Gen Zs are looking at. Ernest & Young basically wanted more fermented meats and forecast to grow 40% of the market by 2040 in the United States. So again, different trends, a different focus on what they're looking for and what it means. I'll have to start the slides a bit earlier. There we go. Great expectations. I will take you back in technology terms. What we talk about is we talk very much about, if we want to understand the future, we have to look back. And it is quite incredible how in the last 10 years, technology has changed. And I go back to the 1980s there, especially in the university world. It's cash and checks, first come, first served. It was a narrow selection of food. You got what you got there. No information about food content, nutrition, allergens, etc. And there was limited external competition. Remember that, limited external competition, because that's something that you guys are not involved with. It's a very competitive environment. Today, where we are, well, you know that we're in digital wallets. We're mainly cashless, reward schemes. Basically unprecedented information, carry content, carbon. We'll talk about carbon impact in a little while, and a huge varied external competition. So it's not only on your campus, they can walk down the road and they've got a Five Guys, they've got a McDonald's, they've got other locations that they can move off, and you're losing that control, or you're losing that potential customer to other environments. So the university, how it has evolved, well, you guys might have seen some of this, but basically, universities over the generations, medieval times, universities operated in a service or religion, spirituality. That's what the medieval universities, if you call them universities, were all about. Post-industrial universities were driven by research that promoted technological advances and economic growth. Contemporary universities have been motivated by self-interest in a face of competitive marketplace. So the whole university sector, when it all changed, it became very much of a competitive landscape, as a lot of things do. So where is University 4 going to? University will shift from being self-focused to being for others. So it will be becoming much more connected to the industries and communities around it. I'm trying to think of the term we use in manufacturing terms. It's cluster manufacturing. That's the word I'm looking for. So it'll be similar move. It'll be moving to actually what's the industry, who the people, what's the region, what's the focus on that region, and then become exceptionally committed to serving the needs of students. And that's a cycle we move to, and especially that helps, technology has done that actually it's about individualism. It's about being able to capture the data of those individuals and service them at that point of sale with that information. And I'll show you some of the tech that we do and some of the tech that is coming out and moving forward that gives you the ability to do that, as is very important that you need to be thinking about that now and indeed in the future. So what is that implications for, some of the things for campus hospitality? So know your foods. So allergens, ingredients, calorie, O2 emissions. Oh my goodness me, so much information there. And that now we're able to pull that into a communication tool, whether that be at point of sale, direct to the consumer, whatever, web, we can actually deliver that almost in real time. Lifestyle, so street food, snacking, bite-sized shared, the shared environment. We know that the Gen Zs, they love that shared environment, getting together. Inclusions, international diets, user interface, everything has to be for the disabled, everything has to be across all different individuals. Students' experience joined up, know who I am. So they want to know when they walk up to a point of sale or a till or a web interface, the system understands where they are, understands if they've got an allergen issue, understands how much CO2 emissions they've generated or they've consumed, or food they've consumed that generated the CO2 level at the moment. And that has to be done very seamlessly and frictionless. Health, obviously vegan, vegetarian, hydration, diets and fabs. Again, things you have to think about. So the interfaces, what are they? Well, they're mobile app, they're webs, they're self-serve, they're digital wallets. And you have to then build that with managing life, which is price conscious, loyalty, they're very loyalty driven, and remember they're digital natives. So screen doesn't go to sleep. We'll get to the next slide. There we go. So what do we, just overall, what else do we have to think about in managing campus hospitality? So again, sourcing of foods, where's that's coming from? So you can track those elements of each product right through the supply chain. Cost, stock, waste management, really, really important. The experience, the point of sale experience, and I first of all say that's the service staff. So that's your staff understanding how to use the technology and it works for them. As I said to them, it's a generational thing quite often. And sometimes if you've got an older dinner lady, then basically she perhaps doesn't get on so well with the technology. So you need to work with that and to be able to deliver great service through to your end students. Event management. You guys do a lot of event management. You have little pop-ups. What's the volume? How am I going to manage it? Is it mobile? How's it pick it up, pull it in? And all the digitized products you deliver these days, they have to have that versatility. Point of sale experience for students. Again, they want to buy the way they want to buy. Alphas want to sit away from a purchasing point and they want to do it on their mobile and they want to say, I'm at table 4. And they want someone to walk up and drop it onto table 4. They don't want to speak to them. That's what they want to do, alphas. So Zs do it slightly differently. So again, it's a consideration of how you build your technical environment, depending on how you're moving through that student life cycle. Competing with off-campus foods with the rewards and loyalties. So some of our customers, we give vouchers, we give coffee voucher on a certain day, spend X and you get Y. So there's lots of different ways that actually are very little impact on your bottom line because you're generating more revenue for the whole campus and your catering environment if you can generate more loyalty and more customer stickiness within your environment. Keeping staff informed through app applications, push applications, web app pushing. So we do a lot on managing waste by actually pushing data out. Say I've got 25 sandwiches left, so you can push to your campus space. They come down for the next 2 hours and get 25% off sandwiches. So you're managing waste by doing that sort of application that helps you basically give better solutions, better services, and save costs. Diets and food offerings based on student demands versus selecting what is actually given. So again, it's that demand, specific requirements that the student's looking for. Okay. Right, so I've gone through a bit of the implications of what's going on within your environment, and let's just talk a bit about the different technology that is going to be evolving. So self-serve is kind of there. Everyone knows self-serve, but of course, it's moving to the next level. When we walk up to a self-serve now, I can scan my profile. That gives me everything I've just ordered for the last week. It also tells me in the last week how much calories I've consumed. It also tells me what's my carbon impact. Wow, what does that mean? Well, actually, I can identify how much a burger, the carbon impact of that burger in this location, what that's generated. And so I can see my carbon impact in a given week. And indeed, we'll show you a bit more about that in respect of high, medium, low, how that changes. Now, some people don't care about it. Some people don't. But as I said, Gen Zs generally do. They're quite focused on that, that journey to save the planet. And that's what we're here to try and do. Greener, less carbon, etc. These are stat surveys. This is an AI checkout, and you'll see more and more of these come into the world. And basically, all you're doing there is you're putting a tray of food underneath a checkout. It's taking a digital picture that goes off to an algorithm. It identifies exactly what's on the plate, and then actually bills the client or bills the customer, bills the student, however we set it up. And again, these can start utilizing rotational menus and multiple different products. And it's all about speed. It's about simplistic use. It's about a frictionless experience as far as the students are concerned. Okay. Apps, webs. So apps are, we always transition between app and web. We go through, at the moment, we're very app orientated in the world. So what do we mean by that? People are downloading apps and utilizing wallets and apps. We're moving into QR code ordering. That's generally what we call a web inside app. And so there's different types of environments. Again, different customers use those. But again, what do they give you? It gives you many different things. It gives you personalization for those individual students. But more importantly, it gives you the catering or organization, the ability to actually interface more personally with that individual. And you can see there on various different things that we can actually work on: loyalty points, push notification. We even use something called beaconization, but I'll talk about later on. So, and again, that's what we're talking about there. Food ordering apps are a really important part of the business, and they will continue to grow and be part of our lives. Adoption is hard because people say, well, actually, you need to think, well, actually, you're generating your own app, and it's about getting that adoption, that usage, and consumers or students starting to use that. But I promise you, when they do use it, they use it all the time. So it's a bit of hard work to begin with, bit of planning, good publicity, good promotional focus to get them to use it, and it will work. It will work very well. Biometric payments. So at Lolly, we do biometric payments, and we do it on what we call a wallet-based scenario. But biometric payments will become more and more prevalent. So again, you will walk up, it will identify you, so you can basically just pay on account. It knows you. Biopayments at the moment, by what we call the scheme rules, so Visa, MasterCard, American Express, they mandate two forms of biometric payment to take a actual real-time payment. And that's something, again, will continue to evolve. We use FacePay a lot. FacePay is very accurate, and it's very compliant, because actual FacePay, we don't use a picture of a face. We use something called vectorization. So what we do is we take it's like a triangular digital map of somebody's face. We then digitize that, we then tokenize it and encrypt it, and that's how we use that. And that's really, really accurate. So we never take a picture. So personal data, we're fine, but we can identify that individual by that digital map we've actually collected from them. But this, again, will become the norm, really, in the future. Big data, well, I don't need to say about big data. Well, I do, because everyone talks about big data, and no one actually, we're talking about data on individualization. We can use data for things like beaconization. Beaconization is when you've got a small communication module that, as you walk past it, it can identify you as an individual and send you a specific message. Not great, because you need to have your Bluetooth on all the time, but again, it's an early stage technology and it will move forward. Chatbots, well, that's another thing. Some people like them, some people hate them, but again, they're part of our world, and they will increase in their core functionality, their ability, and soon you will not know if you're speaking to a chatbot or you're speaking to a real person. You probably will, because the government will probably mandate that you've got to identify that actually you're speaking to a human or otherwise. And obviously, technology can be delivered 24/7 at reduced costs. So robotics, well, you laughed there. I had a robot. We've got 2 or 3 in the office here, waiter robots, and one decided to just decided to have a walk around the office and start singing something. So robotics, I would say, waiter robotics are at their early stages at the moment. But it is something, again, will be part of your lives. As I said, it's developing. In the few years to come, I believe we will interact with cyber robots. We can sit down there, we can communicate with them. The robots we have here, you can, it knows when you've ordered from a specific table, it will go to the kitchen, pick up your food, it will come back to your table, it'll deliver it. You can't interact with them that well at the moment, but that's the journey we're stepping over at the moment, and that's where we are. So in a year, 2 years time, they will be a very useful part of your workforce or within your environment. And again, a bit further out, but fast drone delivery, everybody knows that this is being worked on. So for certain environments, it's going to be great. You can order your pizza, and rather than have an Uber Eats or whatever you want traveling down his bike or his car, that will drop to a single drop zone or something. You can go and pick your pizza up in a field. My goodness me. But that's indeed kind of the things that we're going to be talking about and focusing on in the future. As I said to you, carbon. Log meals. So that's a bit. So we can actually, carbon accounting allows for a company to individually qualify its carbon footprint. So you can see here we use on the top there. You can see that burger. That burger has 1,348 calories. It's got 4.7 kilograms of CO2 generated by that burger. Now, and then we have actually what we've got is a counter that actually builds that over the week, and you can see what carbon impact you've generated. What one of our big organizations does, it then takes all of its staff's carbon impact by eating the food on its premises, and it offsets it. It's a really focused, obviously, green, carbon neutral organization, but that is certainly, we're capable of doing that, and it's something that again will be part of your portfolio in the future. Metaverse, well, I don't know, metaverse is a big one. Remember, metaverse is a network of 3D virtual worlds focused on social and economic connections. What does that mean? So we know Gutenberg, we know Facebook, the Meta, that's their world they're building. This is really quite scary, and I kind of struggle with this a bit, but I don't. I've had a couple of chats with Meta, and they believe that you will sit at your desk and be adversed, so you'll be inside the metaverse for anything between 6 and 8 hours. Oh my goodness me. So you'll come into the office, you'll close yourself in your bubble, and you'll jump into the metaverse, and you'll be there. But of course, the point is they're saying, well, actually, you can go to a metaverse store and buy a Ralph Lauren avatar and spend X amount of money using your Bitcoin or whatever you want to do. And you can walk around in a very fancy top in that metaverse. But in reality, you're going to need to be fed, and you're going to need to drink stuff. And so what they're saying is actually, well, why don't we initialize a in-store, it could be a campus lolly shop that you can go buy a burger in, which is actually inside the university, it's inside the metaverse, and then we will deliver it to your desk. So you can continue in the metaverse. Now, whether you will or whether you won't, I don't know. It's not, as you see there, potentially, it's potentially wearing a pair of glasses. It's going to do different things to you in respect of, so you can spend more time there. But I think I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be part of our world in some way or other. Some very useful applications we know in various different commercial areas. Facial recognition. Well, that's come on leaps and bounds. We use something called neural networks for that. So we do some of that. So again, at Lolly, when you walk up to one of our tills, if somebody is under a certain age, so we can focus the algorithm to say under 22. If you're under 21 or under 22, the actual system will look at the person standing in front of you, and bear in mind they're not taking a photograph, they're looking at and comparing it with vectors, and they're saying that person we believe is under 22, please age check them. And so it takes away the challenge that some of your young staff members have of saying, oh, is this, have I checked their age or have they not? Because the system is saying, age check them. And of course, that helps you with HMRC when they say, well, we think you're serving underage people. And we can say, look, there's my logs. That's how often I'm age checking, and I'm doing those jobs. So again, this AI technology is moving forward. It's becoming much more available and easy to deploy in typical a lot of your environments. So questions. So finally coming, I don't know how long I've been here, half an hour-ish, but hospitality in campuses is a key part of the student experience. It's a key part of their world. The expectations of the generations will evolve very much technically, but it will evolve. It will be evolved in respect of the menus you deliver, the sort of the seamless interface with technology and the individualization. Technology can serve to support changing expectations of users. So as we move through those generations, technology can help you support that. Technology will also help you with cost management and operational efficiency. And so it is time to look ahead at University 4. What does that actually mean for you? And get ready for the alpha generation. So I hope you found that interesting. That's really the end of my little chat. So yeah, so any questions? There we go.
That was a really, really interesting session there, Peter. Thank you very much. We've got plenty of time for questions and answers. So if anybody has got anything that they'd like to ask of Peter, please do feel free to put your hand up or pop it into the chat function as well.
Yeah.
Everybody goes quiet.
Everybody goes quiet. Yeah.
There we go, Richard. Thank you very much, Richard.
Peter, do you see any answer to delivery to halls without the use of expensive Deliveroos and Uber Eats? Taking on your own people doesn't seem to be the way forward, but I quite like what Starship are doing. Do you see that sort of thing becoming more like that last mile or the first mile, whatever it's called?
Yeah. When you say too expensive delivery, you mean for the student to have staff, etc., delivered into the hall environment? Well, you certainly, if in the corporate catering environment that you have, you can easily, by using an app-based product, do a hall delivery, hall services, and hall solutions, and that cost generally should be lower. And it depends on the size of the hall, the size of the actual adoption of the service. Because obviously, I presume students are purchasing out of hours. Is it what sort of time frame are we looking at that they're actually purchasing?
Well, I would say that there's a 24-hour opportunity with halls that are on site within 500 yards, 500 meters of an outlet. I'm just wondering whether you've seen any solutions to not using Deliveroo and Uber Eats on campus, because there's too much of a margin loss to hold a price for a student, but where that last half a mile, that 500-yard delivery rather than the 3 or 4 mile delivery.
Well, no, the answer is no, I haven't, truthful, but I can think. So stuff like trolley robots that we're talking there, and they're probably right here.
But your robots are great. Your robots are great, but they're inside. It's those robots that can go outside and just down a private street and deliver into a halls.
Okay, the ones, actually, I can post you some stuff if you want afterwards, but a lot of the robots coming out now are for traveling, I say they're for traveling down. There's different environments in what we talk about, but they can quite easily go down a street, and they can quite easily, but they can't cross a road. They can't do stuff like that at the moment. No. That's the challenge you've got. But in a closed loop environment, campus halls on site, yes, you could use them, and they can get into lifts, go upstairs, and they can do all that. But you're right. So the answer is no, I don't have an answer to that. You're right. At the time cycle we are, probably the Uber type delivery solution is probably where we are. But I don't think it'll be long before an automated robot solution can support a catering environment on campus to deliver those sort of solutions. But I don't think that's here right now.
It's in the States, but it's not. I mean, Starship Technologies do it with the little white robots in Milton Keynes, but I haven't really seen it on campuses, and yet it's all over campuses in the US. So I think it'd be a real benefit.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Perhaps I'll go away and look at that straight away.
We also had Rachel with her hand up as well.
Rachel, hi, Rachel.
Hi, that was really interesting. Thank you for your time. I've got quite a specific question, I suppose, and it's maybe not just around the futurism bit, but you mentioned carbon accounting a couple of times there, and I just wondered whether you use what mechanism, if you're using that currently, what mechanism you use for that, because I know there's a lot of debate about accurately analyzing that data, ingredient lists, and all of that kind of thing. So yeah.
It's a really good point, actually, and it's really, I always say these things, when they start to evolve, it's a bit of smoke and mirrors, to be honest. But what we do is we use a very good company called Foodsteps. So Foodsteps work with our recipe management company, and as the recipes get built, we build a carbon footprint. So it's a lot of data being pulled through from different elements to actually deliver the final solution. So it's as accurate as we can. Is it absolutely nailed on the line? It's probably not every time, but in the information flows that we've got, we use, as I said, Foodsteps. They're great, and it's the best information, the best pool of data we have.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Have you heard of Foodsteps?
Yeah, and there's like Clamato, is there?
Yeah, there's
which
lots
is
of them,
like a Dutch company, maybe a Norwegian company. I was working with Food and Drink Federation just yesterday, and they were saying they think that actually that proper analysis, that they won't be working with like the big retailers, and they reckon like 2028 at the very earliest they'll have a kind of consistent way of measuring individual impact. So and I think that it's an unusual situation where I think the consumer is much further ahead and of that, and that consumer demand is now, and actually industry is a way behind that, which it kind of doesn't normally happen that way, actually.
Well, it doesn't, but I think there's an element of, we talked about food choices earlier on, and we talked about how that has exploded in respect of the generation, this current generation's requirement for individualism as far as food. So you've got so many different elements of food that are made up literally at a point of distribution. So therefore, we're trying to actually get that carbon right the way that the data through is very difficult. And I think that you're absolutely right. I think what will evolve is, at the moment, there's different organizations plugging in and actually trying to pull data, and us trying to pull it, but there will be national kind of database that we'll actually go to pick up that data that has a much more measurable approach in the future. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, folks?
It's gone very, very quiet.
Good. Okay.
I think that's all the questions that we're gonna have come through today. But thank you so much for leading on today's session, Peter. It's very, very interesting. It's quite fascinating to see how things may change in the future, and how quickly everything's kind of gone at a pace over the last few years as well. What we'll do following on from the call is we will share the video and the slides from today's session. I will also follow up with just contact details for Peter should anybody wish to get in contact to discuss further. But from here, thank you so much again to It's Lolly for hosting today's session, and look forward to seeing everybody very, very soon.
Okay, thanks so much,
guys. Thank you very much.
Have
Cheers.
a good day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.